What's up everyone, Soldier First Class here, and today's mission, I want to discuss the question, can a turn-based mainline Final Fantasy game still succeed? With the recent commercial success of Square's most recent entries in the franchise, action-based Final Fantasy looks to be a mainstay for the franchise from now on. But what if Square decided to go back to turn-based or even ATB for one title? Would that game still sell as well as the last few have? Final Fantasy VII Remake sold 3.5 million copies within its first week of release, so that's going to be really difficult to match. I think that's also a difficult question to answer because of what a company would consider a success. For example, selling 2 million copies may be a success to one company, but to another it could be a complete failure. It really just depends on development costs, which include cutscenes, voice acting, and other development related elements. There are a lot of moving parts in game design, and action games tend to cost a little more because of it. To offset that cost, you want to sell as many copies as possible just to make your profit margin for the title's development. So there are a lot of factors when it comes to a turn-based Final Fantasy being successful. Let's take a look at a few of the stats about some ATB or turn-based Final Fantasy games. To this day, Final Fantasy VII is the highest selling single-player entry into the franchise at over 12 million units. After that, Final Fantasy VIII held the record for fastest selling game in the franchise, holding that title until 13 was released. That being said, Final Fantasy and turn-based used to be synonymous with each other and sold better than any JRPG on the market. So could they do it again? Simply put, yes, I think they could, but I want to dive into that answer and give my reasons behind it. Turn-based or ATB style games, while popular among those who play them, tend to turn the average gamer away. In times where Call of Duty, Devil May Cry, and heavier action titles dominate the market, turn-based games have slightly dropped in popularity. However, that doesn't mean that turn-based games are dead by any stretch of the imagination, it just means that the current market trends don't favor them as much as they used to. Now I do want to put some things into perspective, so this doesn't sound like a video coming from someone who's biased for either genre. I loved the combat of Final Fantasy VII Remake and its heavy focus on action, but I also just finished Persona 5 Royal and absolutely loved its turn-based combat. After finishing Persona 5 Royal, I can confidently say that it is my game of the year, and that's something I thought I'd never say when it's going against a Final Fantasy game. Needless to say, I don't really have a bias towards any combat system either way, and I like games of all types. One of the major issues that fans had when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced was its transition from ATB to the more action-based design it has now. That being said, reception for the new battle system was fantastic, even from a lot of turn-based purists. However, I think those same people would still welcome a return to Final Fantasy's roots, whether it be the ATB system or flat-out turn-based. I'm not saying the franchise has to return to that for every entry, but it would be nice to see one again that's not a spin-off. If we look at a game like Persona 5 across all of its releases, as of December 2019, it had sold over 3.2 million units. That's accounting for the 400,000 units sold of Persona 5 Royal in Japan. Then Sega released a statement in a financial report in May of 2020 stating that Royal had sold above expectations in the West after its March 31st release. They didn't give exact numbers, but it seemed they were more than happy with the numbers they had. Honestly, that's huge for a company making JRPGs not named Square Enix. And the thing with Atlus and Sega is that now that I've played Persona 5 Royal, I'm officially a Persona fan. While my one of millions doesn't mean much, I'm now a guaranteed copy they'll sell when they release Persona 6. I also just purchased the newly released Steam version of Persona 4 Golden. It's also worth noting that Persona 5 Royal is tied for the second highest rated RPG of all time on Metacritic with a score of 95 and is deemed a must-play by the site. That's insane for a game with turn-based combat in the modern era to get that kind of recognition. To put that into perspective, Final Fantasy VII Remake has recorded 3.5 million in sales with a Metacritic score of 87. Persona 5 and Royal have sold a combined recorded 3.2 million since 2016 with a Metacritic score of 95. Even base Persona 5 scored a 93 and is deemed a must-play, and even tied with games like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Craig. Let's also take a look at the sales numbers of Dragon Quest XI. Across its multiple releases since 2017, Dragon Quest XI has sold over 5.5 million copies. That's an insanely good sales number for a turn-based JRPG, but it does come with the weight and notoriety of both Square and the title of Dragon Quest. Needless to say, Square dominates the JRPG market and has for years. But there are companies out there that do need more recognition that I think could give Square a run for their money if they ever hit the big time in sales. Atlus and Persona are trending in the right direction, and Persona 6 could shatter the record set by Persona 5. But companies like Falcom and their Trails series need more exposure as they're creating fantastic games, but sales just aren't quite there yet. Across the entire Trails series, Falcom has sold over 4.5 million units, and I think with the right market push, they could become a powerhouse in the JRPG market. I'd also like to mention that my friend Fish Fried Cat is a massive Trails fan and would like you guys to know that you should buy and play Trails of Cold Steel. We can also look to the surge in anime popularity in the West as a way for games like Trails and Persona to succeed even more in the coming years. As more and more anime becomes popular in the West, that art style for video games has also started to trend upwards as well. Since that's typically the art style you see in turn-based JRPGs, we're looking at a time where even obscure JRPGs could become popular. Games like Persona 5 have even mixed anime-style cutscenes into their games, which has helped people transition towards those type of games. For example, what initially drew me into Persona was how much it reminded me of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Between that and a recommendation from my friend Night Sky Prince, I recently bought and finished Persona 5 Royal, and I'm extremely glad that I did. After playing games like Persona 5 and beginning Trails of Cold Steel 1, it's encouraged me to broaden my horizons and look for games outside of Square Enix that may bring a wonderful turn-based experience. As a gamer, I've recently been playing games I would have normally scoffed at, and it's really brought me a lot of joy recently. Overall, like Mario, Zelda, or even companies outside of video games like Nike, Final Fantasy is a long-standing brand and one that almost always comes with phenomenal sales numbers. No matter the battle system, the setting, or even the art style, Final Fantasy can still sell well no matter what. If Final Fantasy XVII got announced as being turn-based, I think it could become a commercial and critical success. If they implement systems never before seen in a Final Fantasy game, create a unique world with unique characters, a turn-based Final Fantasy could sell just as well as any action title they've brought out. But I think they'd have to attempt to step outside of their comfort zone and really bring it with fresh and mind-blowing turn-based combat. I also think they need to step away from the teen rating, but that's a discussion for another time. So with all that in mind, soldiers, do you believe that a return to turn-based for the franchise would do as well, and would you be interested in it taking that direction for at least one mainline title? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to omnislash that like button. Let me know in the comments section below if you'd like to see another turn-based or ATB-style mainline entry in the Final Fantasy franchise. Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to join the ranks of Soldier today. And for all the latest JRPG-related content, I'm Soldier First Class, and I'm on to the next mission. Later, guys.